up, Wedding Nerdigans? This is the one and only Packer Girl 89, and today's hashtag book nerdigan discussion video is going to be for Magnus Chase and the Sword of Summer by Riordan, which is the first book of the Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard. And I know I should have read this book when it came out in 2015, and fuck it, this is discussion in 2015. I don't know why the fuck I didn't do it. Oh, I should have been doing this then. Anyway, few things before I start this discussion. First of all, this video, I'm giving you fair warning right now, is going to be extremely long because there is a lot of stuff to talk about. How I do these videos, especially when it's mythology-based fiction, whether it's Norse, Greek, Egyptian, Roman, whatnot, I mainly focus on a lot of the mythology that's in the book because I think it's extremely fascinating, and you learn a lot from it. Also, if you have not read the Percy Jackson series or the Heroes of Olympus series, you're not going to get a lot of the references that are in this book or some of the comparisons I'm going to do. Because as I was reading this book, I compared it to, I was thinking in my head, like some of the comparisons to the original Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, which is the first book of the Percy Jackson series in particular. And also, if you are squeamish, I gotta tell you right now, this is up there with one of the most disturbing things I have ever read. And like when it comes to Norse, I have read pretty fucked up shit. I mean, if you've read Vinland Saga, this is more fucked up, and that's a manga. This is more fucked up than Vinland Saga. Anyway, let's get to this. So, get to the discussion itself. So this is a little bit different than Percy Jackson when it comes to where Magnus Chase's like the age range starts. So it starts about age when he's 16 in the Boston area, and we got the hint at the end of I think it was the end of the Heroes of Olympus series from Annabeth that we were gonna get that. Basically, I liked how it started, where how Magnus was saying that how this was a story about his life, how it went downhill, and he basically got himself killed, and he's been homeless for about 2 years, and we find out that like the son of the kids of the Fenris wolf were trying to kill him, but they killed his mother. And I like it near the end that when we get to the Fenris wolf, he even admits it, that he sent his kids to kill his mother. But when I'm telling you, when we get to the Fenris wolf portion of the book, I'll talk a little bit more about them. And I love at the beginning of the book, we get to see Annabeth. I love it. I was like, Annabeth is here. Oh my god, I did not think we were going to see Annabeth so fast. And we see Annabeth and Uncle Frederick, her uncle, looking for her, because I was kind of shocked about that. And then, according to Randolph, who is a slime ball, like, I was just like that. Especially when we get to the epilogue, he's an asshole. At age 16, Magnus has reached manhood, and that means he has been marked for assassination, which is completely different than how it was in the Greek, especially the Percy Jackson series. It was completely different from that, how it was for Percy. And also, if you think about it in Heroes of Olympus with the Romans, and it was a little, I would say, in Vinland Saga, it was a little bit different as well. But then again, this scenario with Thorfinn was kind of different to boot. Anyway, and let's see. Oh yeah, and before I forget, there is another Norse space mythology series that I did cover on this channel a couple years back, by Leslie Livingston. Oh boy, that series got nothing on this when it comes to like really fucked up shit. Anyway, so we find out a little bit more about Randolph, and he studied the North American exploration of North America. And I think this is really fascinating how, because I somewhat knew about the Vikings' exploration of North America, but I didn't know, like, this stuff here about, like, and this is what Randolph says, is the Norse explored North America and even built settlements around the year 1000, almost 500 years before Christopher Columbus. And scholars agree on that, but no one is sure how far south the Norse sailed. And this part here is why he got fired, fucking Randolph, and I think he might have lost his mind. The statue of Leif Erikson, that was the pet project of a wishful thinker. And if you read Vinland Saga, Leif Erikson is in that manga, and it's really interesting how because in a way he is kind of a wishful thinker, and when it comes to his travels, and that in the 1800s, a man named Evan Horsford he was convinced that Boston was the lost Norse settlement of Norumbega, which is their furthest point of explanation. God, I can't talk right now. Exploration. He had an instinct, a gut feeling, but no real proof. And most historians wrote him off as a crackpot. And that's why Randolph got fired from his job. And I gotta say, I love Magnus's point of view. It really reminds me of Percy. And I would say Magnus, and sometimes, like, when I was reading Magnus, when I'm reading into his point of view, I'm like thinking, sometimes he's just as funny as Percy, and sometimes he's funnier than Percy, but, like, there's sometimes where Percy is still, like, I still think Percy is funnier, like, the jokes are a little bit better, but anyway. Where is it? And then Randolph talks about this, and I think this is really interesting when it comes to all the coincidental stuff here. The Norse explorers did make it this far, and they were searching for something, and they found it here. One of their ships sank nearby, and for years I thought the ship was in the Massachusetts Bay. And this quote, I've seen this in a lot of mythology-based fiction, and God, I swear. Myths are simply stories about truth we've forgotten. Oh boy. That quote. When I saw that, I was like, I see that quote in a lot of mythology-based fiction, or in some way or another. And I swear to God, I feel like it's true. And it scares me sometimes. Here's a little bit more. A millennium ago, Norse explorers came to this land. The captain of these explorers was a son of the god, Skirnir. This man carried a very special team, something that once belonged to your father. When the Norse ship went down in a storm, that item was lost, but you have the ability to find it. Yeah, we know what it is. We know what it is. It's the sword itself. And it's in the river, and it's really weird what it is, but it's the Viking of a Longship. And I think this is so fascinating that the poet Longfellow, for whom the bridge is named for, he was fascinated by the Norse, wrote poems about their gods, like even Horsford. And Longfellow believed the Vikings had explored Boston, hence the designs on the bridge, and they felt it instinctively, even if they had no proof. This area wasn't just visited by Vikings, it was sacred to them. Right now below us somewhere, near their decorative longships, is the wreck of an actual longship, holding a cargo of incalculable value. Magnus, the Norse explorers here, came searching for the axis of the worlds and the very trunk of the tree, and they found it. And like when we get later in the book, where they find it, I just thought was just fucking hilarious, where they find the access point. And I just thought it was just so funny. But we'll get to that in a second. And like, I just thought it was interesting, like, where Magnus died, which was at the end of chapter 7. But I want to talk about the battle with the sword against Surt. The battle with Surt was so cool. Like, I would just love to see it. But I'd rather see it like in anime form or in manga form, because recently I saw what was it? The Infernal Devices in manga form. Oh my god, it looks so good, like artwork wise. I would love to see this like at least in manga form or in anime form. Oh my god, Rick Riordan, please make that happen. I'd love to see this in graphic novel form or manga form. That'd be awesome. But this is how he died, and I was just like picturing it in my head. I was just like, God, that fucking sucks. You have the guts impaled, vital organs burned, head smacked into a frozen river from 40 feet up, every bone in his body broken, lungs filled with ice water. And I was like thinking to myself, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right for a demigod. Like, what the fuck? Demigods don't die. That was just like, what? I don't want to talk about that. I thought this was interesting why the Vikings use CE against AD, because Anno Domini in the year of our Lord is fine for Christians, but Thor gets a little upset. I just thought that was funny. He still holds a grudge that Jesus never showed up for his duel and he challenged him to. I thought that was so fucking funny when I read that. I started cracking up. I was like, Thor. And then when we met Thor, like, I was just like thinking, Thor's upset. How could Thor be upset about that? Like, Thor didn't seem the type to be upset. I swear to God, the Marvel universe is just so wrong. I swear to God. I swear to God. And then we learned about the Enharger or the Enhergy, and I thought this was so interesting. Basically, what they are the chosen of Odin, soldiers in his eternal army. And the word Enhijar, or Enhir, fuck, I'm pronouncing it wrong. Wait, am I pronouncing it wrong? It's in Harry. I'm sorry. It's in Harry or in Yard. I fucking was pronouncing it wrong. Sorry. Is usually translated as lone warriors, but that doesn't really capture the meaning. It's more like once warriors, the warriors who fought bravely in the last life and will fight bravely on the day of doom. And I like that it's a hotel. Like, compared to like some of the oh my god. Compared to the Leslie Livingston trilogy, where Valhalla just was like typical Valhalla. And I think the other series I was thinking of was the Need series by Carrie Jones. I almost forgot about that series. I'm sorry, Carrie. I know you follow me on Twitter, and I totally forgot about you for a second. I need to review that. I need to reread and review that series, because that series don't get love. And, like, yeah, the majority of the series that I've read that do Norse space mythology and cover, Vinland Saga has not covered Valhalla yet, have, like, this simplistic Valhalla. But, like, this, like, I just like how Rick Riordan just, like, modernized it. It's good. And it has 540 floors, and it connects with the 9 worlds. And most of the mortals come from the Midgard or the world of humans entrance. And I love learning these words. So you got the gods, and I like the symbol. And this is what you get for your hotel key, which it symbolizes new beginnings, transformations, and also opens your door. And I like that, in a way, it's like the Norse version of, if you think about it, this is like the Norse version of Camp Half-Blood, and fuck, I can't remember the Roman camp off my head, at the top of my head. It is gonna drive me nuts. Hold on a second. I have to look at it, because it will drive me nuts. Fuck, where is it? It would be here. Where is it? Fuck. Camp Jupiter. That's what it would be like. Basically, the Norse version of Camp Jupiter and Camp Half-Blood. More so, yeah. But the difference is that more like Camp Jupiter than or no. I would say it's more like a combination of Camp Jupiter and Camp Half-Blood, because, well, instead of being divided by gods, you're divided by your age, at like the age you die. I'll get to that part in just a second. A second. And something that's cool about the hotel rooms themselves is how your hotel rooms are. It taps into your mind, and it transforms it, like the suites transform into what makes you feel the most comfortable. And let's see. So how it works, how the hotel works, like floors. The in here Yar are grouped by age, based on age they were when they died. So Magnus is in the youngest tier, which goes up to about age 19. And most of the time you won't see the other two tiers, adults and seniors. It's better that way. The adults, well, they don't take the teens seriously, and even if the teens have been here for hundreds of years longer, they'll be in the teen level. And like, I liked how they described the senior citizens. They were like, just think of it as like a violent retire home. I just fucking I was dying. And then here's the thing I thought was interesting. Like, many of the Einhar are demigods, and many are regular mortals. So it's not exclusive to demigods. And Camp Jupiter, you could have, as long as you had like a little bit of god blood, like, or you descended from a demigod or whatever, you could still go there. I like that little aspect that you could be immortal. And be in Valhalla. So how it works is the Valkyries are responsible for choosing the Einhar, and each warrior basically here died a valiant death, which is typical of the Valhalla myth, and each had a belief in honor or some connection to the Norse gods, which is very similar to the typical basically typical to the same, what was I thinking? The Egyptian-based mythology. Like, for example, what was the one I was thinking of? Like in the Kane Chronicles, that's what I was thinking of. It's very similar to the Kane Chronicles. I don't remember seeing it so much in Hades' realm, because what Hades said was that the people that go into the afterlife, or go into Hades, they see their afterlife is basically what they believe it's going to be. But what Osiris said was that if they believe in the Egyptian afterlife, that's where they're going to go. They go to Osiris's realm. And then a character that I really liked, and I like the diversity of this cast, is Samira Al-Abiz, because I know she's not the first Arab female character because of the Kane Chronicles, but I think she's the first like Muslim character, because from Kane Chronicles, I don't think the other character that I'm thinking of, I don't think she was Muslim. I don't remember. Please let me know in the comment section. I don't remember if she was Muslim or not. But I really like that. I just like that a character, like our main heroine, though, is a female Muslim. I really like that. And I like that she's a daughter of Loki. I just think that's cool, because remember in Percy Jackson, we had Nico, who was a son of Hades, and you know how people give Hades shit. I like that we had a daughter of Loki, and we've had like a son. We had a son of the Fenris Wolf before, and that was in the Leslie Livingston trilogy. So I really like that little aspect. And something that's cool about Sam is that she's living a double life, and I really like that with the Valkyrie character. With her, is that, and I'm gonna get to it a little bit later, like how she's tied, her family's tied to the Norse. I thought that was really cool as well. When we got to the dining room for the feast the first time, I was just like, why the hell is there a goat here? I thought that was so fucking random. I was like, huh? Why is there a goat in the tree in the Feast of the Slain? I don't remember seeing this in any other version of Valhalla during feasts. And what Sam says is the goat is Riordan. Her milk is brewed to make the mead of Valhalla. I didn't know that mead was made from goat's milk, but okay, I just was rolling with it. She's a free-range goat, and her mead tastes better that way. Well, I believe that. Some of the mammal, and then because there's like all these mammals in the tree, and I'm just thinking, like, what? Like, that's the most random thing. And like Magnus and I were thinking the same thing. Like, I bet it's how does this happen and not rain like animal droppings? Like, what the fuck? And some of the animals in the tree of Riordan are immortal and have particular jobs. But somewhere up in that tree, there's a stag named Ecthrimer, and they call him Ike for short. And the cool thing with him is, like, the stag's horns spray water nonstop, and it flows from the branches into the lake, and from there it goes underground and feeds every river in every world. And it's not all from Ike's horns, and there's also snowmelt, pollutants and trace amounts of fluoride in Jonan spit. Giants. I was just like, ew, there's giant spit. That's nasty. But then we meet Gunilla. I thought it was funny that Magnus called her gorilla. I was like, oh, that's mean. But and she is the daughter of Thor. And there's a lot of kids of Thor here. Like, in a way, like, Thor definitely gets around. Thor gets around a lot. Oh, fuck. Thor is not what you expect. And I'll get to that a little later. Because I'm going in order at the book. So, something else that's cool is, and a little bit more about the meal. Sarim, because I like talking about this stuff, like the different stuff that's in this book, because I just think it's interesting. I'm sorry, I told you this video was going to be long, so deal with it. Sarimnir is the magical beast of Valhalla. So what they do is every day they kill it and cook it for dinner, and every morning it's resurrected alive and well, and we'll see that with Thor's goats. It's whatever you want it to be. And different sections of the animal are chicken or pork, which is fucking cool. Well, if you want falafel, because Magnus was asking if he could get falafel, and he was asking what about the vegetarians. Just ask for the left flank. That part is tofu and bean curd. And they could spice it to taste just like about anything. This is Valhalla, paradise for warriors in the service of Odin. Your food will taste perfect, whatever you choose. And I was like thinking to myself, this is completely different than Camp Half-Blood with the magical plates and the goblets. This is different from this is definitely different from Camp Jupiter. This is definitely different from the gnomes. You don't get this shit from the gnomes at all. Let's see. So what Sam says, and this is in regards to the cafeteria. So there are 2 shifts for the older warriors. So because Valhalla has 540 doors, and each one is supposed to accommodate 800 warriors exiting for battle at once. That would mean there are 432,000 in Hurjar. That is fucking nuts. And if you don't know what Ragnarok is, you should know what it is by now, which is, when the 9 worlds are destroyed in a great conflagration and the armies of gods and giants meet in a battle for the last time. It's gonna happen in Europe. I'm telling you that shit. And when we see like Odin's table, like, Davy Crockett is there, and I'm like thinking, why is Davy Crockett at the Odin's table? Like, what the fuck? That was the most random thing. One of the most random things in this book was Davy Crockett at Odin's table. I was like, huh? And then we find out, like, there's a few, between Helgi and Hunding, we find out there's a lot of feuds, and some of them are really messed up. So they have an ancestral feud. There was an ancestral feud when they were alive, and when they died, both made it to Valhalla. But Odin just honored Helgi more, and he put Helgi in charge of the hotel. And Helgi's first order was that his enemy Hunding would be his servant and do his menial tasks for all times. See, that's just messed up. So then, so something that's cool, and it reminds me of Harry Potter, is for the new people that come to Valhalla, if they don't know who their godly parent is, they touch a rune stone and figure it out, and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like thinking that to myself, and they also figure out if they don't have a godly parent, they'll figure out if they're mortal or not. Just a human. And I was just thinking, God, this really sounds like the Sorting Hat. And what the runes are, first of all, Avala is a seer, and she can cast spells and read the future, which sounds like an oracle to me. But what the runes are basically, they're the old Viking alphabet, but each letter also symbolizes something powerful, like a god, a type of magic, a force of nature, and they're like the genetic code of the universe. And what the Vala can do is she can read the stones to see your fate, similar to the Norns. And the greatest sorcerers like Odin don't even need to use the stones. They can manipulate reality simply by speaking the name of a rune, which is fucking badass as hell. And then the Norns come in with this shit. So we got the Norns say Magnus chased the harbinger of the wolf, Fehu, the rune of Frey. So I thought that was really clever. And this is what Rick Riordan did for Percy Jackson, and also you could say the same for Jason. Is they gave them a rare godly parent. But the thing that I liked in particular about Magnus getting Frey is that Frey isn't like a major god. He's more of a minor god. So I thought that was a really smart thing to do. I've never heard of Frey before. I've heard of like a good chunk of the other gods, but I've never really heard of Frey. And I thought that was really cool. And that was complete, because I went into this book not knowing, and the only thing I really knew is that this was Norse-based mythology, mythology-based fiction, and that Magnus was Annabeth's cousin. I didn't know anything else about this book. So, in regards to the plot. So, I really liked that Rick Riordan used a rare minor god, godly parent, as Magnus's parent. And then what was the other thing I was saying? Because what he did for the difference between him and, say, like what he did for Percy Jackson, he used one of the top big three major gods, but difference is he rarely had children because of the pact. So I just thought that was really smart. So this was the prophecy from here. Wrongly chosen, wrongly slain, a hero Valhalla cannot contain. 9 days hence the sun must go east, for a sword of summer, air sword of summer, binds the beast. And because that bitch Gunilla fucking manipulated the tape, Sam lost her Viking powers. And I was just like, you bitch! You son of a bitch! And she admitted it. I was just like, damn. And, so, who Frey is, for those that don't know at this point, So Freya was the god of spring and is the god of spring and summer, and he's the god of wealth, abundance, and fertility. And then he has his twin sister, Freya, who's the goddess of love, and of course she's pretty, and she had cats. And then we get to meet his hallmates. Or his floor mates, and I like the diverse cast that we got here. Like, we got TJ, who was he died in the Civil War, and he was a private in the 54th Massachusetts, and he died in the assault on Fort Wagner in South Carolina. And his dad was Tyr, the god of courage, law, and trial-by combat. And what I think is interesting about him is that he is mixed. Because his mom was a runaway slave. I thought that was really interesting. And then TJ goes on to say that he mentions the different portals. That Valhalla has doors in every world. The hotel is designed that way. Most exits are guarded, but, well, there are lots of ways into Boston, because Boston is the center of Midgard, just like the Empire State Building is where Mount Olympus is. And I think that's really smart. I see what you did. It's right at the trunk of the world tree. The easiest spot, easiest spot from which to access the other world. Why do you think Boston is called the hub of the universe? That didn't get mentioned in the other books, but I just think it's really interesting. And then we get a little bit of a history lesson here. Mortals have always known that there was something about the location, even if they couldn't put their finger on what it was. The Vikings searched the center of the world for years. They knew the entrance to Asgard was in the west. That's one reason they kept exploring into North America. When they met the Native Americans, or the Skraelings, I love that they had a name for the Native Americans. The natives had all sorts of stories about how strong spirit world was strong in this area. Later, when the Puritans settled, well, John Winthrop's vision of a shining city or a hill, that wasn't just a metaphor. He had a vision of Asgard, a glimpse into the other world, and the Salem witch trials, hysteria caused by magic seeping into Midgard, or the human world. I thought that was cool. Edgar Allan Poe was born into Boston. It's no accident his most famous poem was about a raven, which is one of Odin's sacred animals. And it is possible to leave. I just think that's really cool that it's possible, if you're dead, even if you're dead, it's possible to leave with or without permission. It's not like Otherworld in Dragon Ball Z, where you still have your body. Well, you can be out for 24 hours or whatnot, but you need permission for that. And X mentions here, who's the half troll, you would not be immortal. And here we go, what TJ says. That's the second problem. In Valhalla, you can't die, not permanently. You'll just keep getting resurrected. It's part of the training. Out in the 9 worlds, you're still in Ihurgi. You're faster and stronger and tougher than any regular immortal. But if you die out there, you stay dead. Your soul might go to Helheim, oh man, I was so excited when we went to Hell. I know, right? It's weird. Or you might dissolve into the primordial void, Ginnungagap, which I've never heard of before. I've heard of Hell, I've heard of Valhalla, but I've never heard of Ginnungagap before. Hard to know. It's not worth the risk. And then we see that motherfucker Loki for the first time in a Red Sox jersey. And Loki and I guess, have the same taste because we're both addicted to Pop-Tarts. I was thinking to myself, am I a daughter of Loki? Because I'm addicted to Pop-Tarts too. Let's see. And then we find out about Odin's throne and a little bit more about Frey, and a little bit more as we go. So here's the story. Well, Odin and Frigg, the king of Queen, they can sit on Hilda Sigiljof, which is Odin's throne, and see anything in the 9 worlds. They merely have to concentrate and they will find whatever they are looking for. But if anyone else sits there, the throne's magic can be a terrible curse, which is similar to the gods of Olympus. If you remember, when Percy sat on Poseidon's throne, he almost got murdered by Poseidon because they could sense when anyone but them sits on their throne. Let's see, where is it? I certainly would never risk it if this weren't an illusion, but your father, Frey, did. It was his one moment of rebellion, and instead of seeing what he was looking for, he saw what he most desired. It ruined his life. It's the reason he lost his sword. Oh man. I'm going to go into more detail a little bit later. The Sword of Summer, when your father sat on this... See, I know what he's doing here. I see what you're doing, Rick Ronan. When your father sat on this throne, what he saw doomed him. He gave his sword away, passed it to his servant and messenger, Skirnir. Boy, Sword of Summer was not happy with that. And the sword lay for 1,000 years, waiting for someone to reclaim it. Someone who had the right to wield the blade. But you aren't the only one who can use the sword. We all know what will happen Frey will die at the hands of Surt. Sorry, I had a typo in my notes. The Lord of the Fire Giants will cut him down with his own lost sword. He'll use the sword to set in motion a chain of events to hasten Doomsday. In 8 days, unless you stop him, he will cut loose my son, the wolf. And then Gunilla goes into the story of creation, but something that the Percy Jackson series, or I should say Rick Riordan series do in general, and I really love it, is the main character always fights destiny and rebels against it, and there's always a gray area. And I was thinking about this when I was reading this. I was like, this is like the perfect time for me to be reading this series, or especially this book in the series, because of what's going on. Because I've been getting told that being a centrist is a goddamn coward, that I gotta start choosing sides, and that if I'm not supporting like Antifa, that I'm being a Nazi, and it's just fucking bullshit. But that's a different thing. So this is what Gunilla says about the creation. In the beginning of creation, only 2 worlds exist: Muspelheim and Niflheim, fire and ice. Life rose, and this is why I'm mentioning this. Life rose between those extremes. Frey is the god of moderate climbs and the growing seasons. He represents the middle ground, and that's another reason why I like Frey, and why I like that Magnus is the son of Frey. He represents that middle ground, that gray area, and I really love it. Perhaps that's why he can resist heat and cold, because that's one of his powers. And going back to that fight against Surt, that was so cool that he could, like, he didn't feel any of the fire. He just went up to him and just fought with the sword. It was just cool. So here we go. The gods are divided into 2 tribes. The Aesir are mostly gods of war. So you have your Odin, your Thor, your Tyr, and then the rest. And then you have Vanir. The Vanir are more like gods of nature. I've never heard about this before. I've never heard of the Norse gods of nature too much. So you got your Freya, and their father, Njord. That's an oversimplification, but anyway, long ago, the 2 tribes had a war, and they almost destroyed the 9 worlds. They finally settled their differences, they intermarried, and they joined forces against the giants, but still they're different clans. And some Vanir had palaces in Asgard, the seat of the Aesir gods, but the Vanir also have their own world, Venheim. When a child of Vanir dies bravely, they usually don't go to Valhalla. More often, they go to the Vanir afterlife, Folkvanger, not Volkswagen, Folkvanger, overseen by the goddess Freya. Half the honored dead go to Odin, half go to Freya. That was part of the agreement that ended the gods' war eons ago. what Gunilla does is she oversees the Valkyries, but Odin picks them. And Samira al-Abbas, or Sam, was the last Valkyrie he chose 2 years ago under what were unusual circumstances. The All-Father has not appeared in Valhalla since. And then, of course, there's, the Bifrost Bridge, which, of course, if you don't know it by now, you should know the Bifrost Bridge. It's been in the Need series by Carrie Jones and the Leslie Livingston trilogy. The Bifrost Bridge is basically the rainbow bridge leading from Asgard to Midgard. And this is what I find interesting, only the gods may cross over, which is fascinating to me because in the Leslie Livingston series and also in the Carrie Jones series, that wasn't the case. I think that's fascinating. The All-Father has not anyone else would burn the moment they set foot on it. And Valhalla is one of Odin's halls, and that's why within the hotel, and here are immortal. And without the express permission of Odin, they aren't allowed to visit the city of the gods, at least not until the day of Ragnarok, when they will defend the gates, and it's forbidden to go there. And if the Valkyries even tried, they would fall from the sky. And as I said, Magnus totally reminds me of Percy, and in a way he reminds me of Jason Grace, because they are both those middle of the road kind of people. And then we get to Alcidir, and we learn about the elf magic. And something I should mention about Hearthstone that I really, again, what's really cool about this diverse cast is that he's deaf, and that's very rare to see in books, especially. I don't think in all the books that I've read, or all the books I have in my library, I don't think I've seen a deaf character. So this is a big thing for me. I'm really, so props to, that's a really big thing for me. I don't think I've seen a deaf character in manga really either that I can think of, or an anime that I can think of off the top of my head. But anyway, so what Alcidir is basically elf magic that can be that many things, usually be used for many things, and usually peaceful magic. And basically what it is it's like basically the opposite of what the war gods are: healing, growing, stopping violence, but it cannot be learned. It's basically you're born with it. It's not like rune magic. You either have Alcidir blood or you do not. And Alfheim is bright with is like basically eternal day, a perpetual day. And Frey is basically the lord of Alfheim and their patron god. And Vanir are close to elves, and Vanir were the source of all Alcidir. And almost no one is born with Alcidir, and no one practices. And the elves, from how Blitz described the elves, they're a lot like, they're really close to humans. Most elf believes Midgard is a myth, and like how we as humans believe elves are a myth. I really like this parallel that Riordan did. I thought that was really smart. And very creative. Humans live in castles and wear plate mail and tights. Elves spend most of their time staring at screens, watching funny pixie videos when they are supposed to be working. I love this parallel between elves and humans. I think it's hilarious because that's how we imagine elves being. I just think it's great. So then we find out about Blitz. Or basically Blitzen, and like the first thing I thought of, I'm curious if you thought of Blitzen as a reindeer like I did, which is a Svartov, which means dark elf from Svartalfheim, or a subset of dwarves. I was like thinking, God damn it, we got dwarves. Fuck, we got dwarves. And I thought that I love Hearth's full name is Hearthstone, and the first thing I thought of was the fucking video game. I know I'm terrible. And I guess what's worse than a wolf being in the world tree is a squirrel or the ratatosk. And when I was reading this, I was just dying, because a ratatosk is on par with X, the half troll. But I was, the best part of that particular portion of the book was when Halfborn is running and screaming death and nothing but his smiley face boxers. I was reading this part yesterday and I was just dying. I was laughing so hard and that shit was so funny. I was like, I can't take him seriously. How can, he has his axes and he's in his smiley face boxers and he's just going death! Oh my god, that was great. So, a little bit more about the ratatosk. Anyway, they're the bane of the world tree, and anyone who dares come to Yggdrasil's branches sooner or later has to deal with those pests. I'm like, fuck you squirrels. Fuck you motherfuckers. And I'll get to a little bit more of them later. So basically, about the dwarves, a little bit more about these dwarves. They're subterranean creatures, and sunlight is deadly to them, and mind you, they're not as deadly as it is to trolls, so trolls can't handle sunlight in this particular universe as well. And he can stand a little bit, or Blitz will be able to stand a little bit, but if he's out for too long, he'll petrify. So trolls, I don't know if it's, trolls probably, I don't know if trolls are more sensitive than dwarves, but I'm guessing they are. So giants, what I think is interesting about the giants is that they're magic by nature, and they can manipulate your sense without even trying. I just thought that was cool. And so we got our the Norse equivalent of the mist here, which is, and glamour, which is called Gunahap, which I think is funny. I like that name, Gunahap. And then we got to see more Annabeth, and I was so excited. And Annabeth's like, I'll help you. And Magnus is like, no, I'm on a quest. I gotta do my thing here. But before that, Annabeth is like, come on, I'll take. I knew she was gonna try and take him to Camp Half-Blood. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder how that would work, because in the crossovers, the Percy Jackson King Chronicles crossovers, when they mixed the Egyptian the Egyptian magic and the Greek powers, oh boy, that was not pretty. So I'm very curious how that's gonna work. I don't think it's gonna be pretty. If anything, if they mix it, I think it will be during Ragnarok. That's the only time I could see it. Oh my god, that would be so cool to see Egyptian, Roman, Greek, and Norse. Oh my god, that would be so cool. Rick, make that happen. I want to see that shit. But anyway, and then we got reunited with Sam, and then we met, which was a beheaded head in a basket. We met the boss of Blitz and Hearth, which is Lord Mimir, and he was once mighty among the Aesir. And what happened was, then came the war with Vanir, and now he has his own operation. And as part of the truce to end the war, what happened was the two godly tribes exchanged hostages. And Frey and Jord came to live in Asgard, and the gods Hanir and Mimir were sent to Vanaheim. And Frey made Mimir look bad, because he was a great general among the Vanir. So I think it's interesting that they don't take Magnus seriously when Frey was considered awesome. So I don't understand that. Let's see. he and Njord got all kinds of respect in Asgard. So if he and Njord got all kinds of respect in Asgard, like, why were they treating him so bad? I thought that was stupid. Anyway, as for Mimir and Hanir, the Vanir weren't so impressed. Well, Hanir was never very charismatic, and the Vanir would ask his opinions, and he'd bubble, yeah, whatever, it's all good. And then, Mimir told the Vanir, they should be getting into casinos. And he's right about, like, this is smart, and I'm surprised he didn't bring this up, and I don't know if he brought this up in Asgard or not, especially for the old retirees. I don't know if they have this in the retiree levels, but, where is it? Because busloads of retirees coming to Vanaheim, and easy money, and the Vanir had all these dragons, and Mimir told them racetracks in the sky with dragons. Like, that is fucking brilliant! I would feel bad for the dragons a little bit, but that's goddamn brilliant. They'd make a killing is right. And the Vanir didn't like his worthy counsel, and they felt cheated in the hostage swap. And as a protest, they cut off Vanir's head and sent it to Odin. And what Odin was smart here. Odin didn't take revenge because he knew the Vanir and Aesir had to unite against the common enemy, the Triads or the Giants, also known as the Giants. So what Odin did was he carried Mimir to a hidden cave in Jotunheim, where his magical spring feeds the roots of the Yggdrasil. And what he did was he placed Mimir's head in the well, and the water brought Mimir back to life, and he soaked in all the knowledge of the world tree. So what Odin did instead is he carried he carried Mimir into a hidden cave in Jotunheim, where his magical spring, this magical spring feeds the roots of the Yggdrasil, and he placed Mimir's head in the well. And what the water did was he brought Mimir back to life, and he soaked in all the knowledge of the world tree, and his wisdom increased 1,000-fold. And now Mimir, don't feel bad for this motherfucker, because he operates across the 9 worlds with loans, protection, and pachinko machines. What is it with pachinko machines? Like, Jesus! Pachinko is huge. Odin visits him for advice, and Mimir is his consigliere, I can't even say it, and guards the well of knowledge. And sometimes he'll let travelers drink from its waters, though that kind of intel never comes without a price. And ages ago, Loki had an affair with now we're going to learn about Loki a little bit. Because, yeah. So ages ago, Loki had an affair with the giantess. And I said giantess, not the giant. It's fucking 6:32 in the morning. I have not slept. I pulled an all-nighter so I could get this, so I could record this. Loki had an affair with the giantess. They had 3 monstrous kids. One was a huge snake, Jormungand, aka the world serpent, which Odin threw into the sea, and we had to get its attention so we could get, the sword from Ran, the sword of summer from Ran. The second was Hel, and she became the goddess of the dishonorable dead. Yeah, there's Hel. And the third was the Fenrir's wolf. And Fenrir's, what Blood said is, every dwarf knows of the Fenris, because the first time the Aesir came to us for help, Fenris grew so savage, he would have devoured the gods. Kind of sounds like, you know what this sounds like to me? Sounds like Kronos a little bit. They tried to tie him up, but he broke the chain. Ever since, the children of Fenris have been enemies of the dwarves. On Ragnarok, the Day of Doom, one of the first things that's supposed to happen is Fenris gets free, which is very consistent with the rest of the Norse mythology-based fiction that I've covered on this channel. Well, I haven't covered the Need series by Carrie Jones. I will get to it, Carrie. But one way would be to cut him loose. The rope Gleipnir is unbreakable. Surt wants to free the wolf with Frey's sword. And as I said earlier, the children of Fenris killed Magnus's mother. That bitch! Anyway, what Surt wants ultimately is death and destruction. He wants fire to run rampant across the 9 worlds. To me, it sounds like Apophis from the Kane Chronicles. It sounds like Set from the Kane Chronicles, but not as much as Apophis. And what Apophis wanted to, but Apophis, the difference between Apophis and Cert is Apophis wanted the world to be in darkness, and Cert wants the world to be on fire. That's a little bit different. A war god can't stop that. Frey can. He's the god of the growing season, the god of health and new life. I love how Frey, who's like this minor god, can stop it. I love this. He keeps the extremes in check, both fire and ice. I love it. I love how Frey is like this god of balance. I think it's so cool. Like, Frey is like becoming my favorite Norse god. He really is. Wait. There's nothing Cert hates worse than being restrained. Frey is his natural enemy. He gave up his blade for love. And okay, then we get to a big boy, which is who we first meet as a pigeon, and then he's a giant. And remember, I mentioned that giants can shapeshift. This motherfucker, I'm with her. Pigeons cannot be trusted. Fuck you, pigeons. And the pigeon turned into a bald eagle, and we were at the falafel restaurant, and that motherfucker ate all of the falafels. That was bullshit. And after the painful negotiations, here's the info that the eagle gave Magnus. When the sword fell in the river, the current carried it downstream, and it was claimed by the goddess Rand. And no, it's not Detective Conan Rand. No, so don't think that. Lots of valuable things end up in her net. She could be anywhere, so you'll have to get her attention. The way to do that, I know this guy, Harold. Oh my god, Harold is a whiny little bitch. He's got, where is it? I lost my spot in my notes. Hold on a second. Here it is. He's got a boat at the fish pier, does deep sea excursions. Tell him Big Boy sent you. Convince him to take you fishing in the Massachusetts Bay. If you cause enough of a ruckus out there, you'll attract Rand's attention. Then you can negotiate. There's a lot of bartering in this book. Let's see. Ask her for the sword and one of Eden's apples. And what Eden's apple is basically what Rand does is she distributes the apple of immortality that keeps the gods young and spry. And Rand is sure to basically have one lying around because seriously, once you see her, you'll be able to tell she's not good about remember her to eat her apples. Until Harold, you need the special bait. So remember how you have swear to Zeus or whatever. Yeah, you have that oath. Swear. You have the oath in the Percy Jackson Heroes of Olympus series. Yeah, you get this. You have the swear by the troth, and basically what the troth is your word, your faith, your honor, and your soul. It's a binding oath, especially for the Inahiri. And unless you want to spontaneously combust and find yourself trapped forever in the icy darkness of Helheim, you basically have to do it. And then we get the oh shit, I lost my spot for a second. Hold on. Then we get the red gold. And what the red gold is basically the equivalent of, the Daenerys shit. And where is it? It's the currency of Asgard and Valhalla, and it's widely accepted in the other realms. And I get a little bit more about the giants. They aren't necessarily enormous, and some aren't. And some can grow to enormous size. if they feel like it, but they are even more varied than humans, and many look like regular people. Some can change shape into eagles or pigeons or on almost anything. And I think that's really cool that the giants in this universe can do that, because usually, like in giants in Harry Potter, for example, they're usually just one size. But with like in Natsu no Taizai, on the other hand, with Merlin's magic, Diane can shrink into normal size. So I like that giants are basically shapeshifters. I think that's really cool. But something that I think is interesting is before I forget, that nasty bullhead bait. Oh my god, when I was reading that shit, I was about to puke. That shit was nasty. But I knew Sam was Muslim based on hijab, but I was so shocked. I had a feeling she knew Amir, but when she said she was engaged, I was just like, whoa. And then we got her background story about, her grandparents. Basically, her grandparents are old-fashioned, and they were raised in Baghdad, but fled to the U.S. when Saddam Hussein was in power, and they've known the fatherland since forever, and they're good people, distant kin. So she is marrying her distant cousin, which I think is weird. Successful kind. I've been in love with the mirror since I was 12. Why are you in love with your cousin? That's just weird. Why? But sometimes when a family tries to find a good match, they actually care what the girl thinks. I didn't realize until I was older. After my mom died, my grandparents took me in, but, well, my mom wasn't married when she had me, and that's a big deal for my grandparents. She was a doctor, my mom. She found Loki in the emergency room. He used so much power trying to appear in Midgard in physical form. He got trapped somehow, divided between the worlds. When she died in the local community, I was damaged goods, a bastard child. My grandparents were very lucky to get the Fadlan's blessing for me to marry Amir. I won't really bring anything to the marriage. And I was just like thinking, you're marrying your cousins! It's just weird! Why? Like, oh my god, that's just so weird. And I think Magnus was just, Magnus, I think, was like, kind of like thinking, you're marrying her. He's secretly thinking, I think he was trying not to show it. He's like, you're marrying your cousin. That's just weird. But something that I thought was cool, like her goal, she wanted to be the first Arab American, female pilot. I thought that was cool. I guess one of the biggest advantages of being Loki's daughter, or a child of Loki, is you can usually tell where the biggest monsters are lurking. And I think in this case, it's the World Serpent, because she's kind of related to it. So I thought that was cool. And I was thinking when Magnus got the World Serpent, I'm like, how did they survive this? Like, how? And apparently it was because Magnus is the son of Frey, who's the son of Njord, god of ships, sailors, and fishermen. And I was like thinking to myself, that is the most random thing ever. That is random as fuck. And then what Rand says about the serpent, and this made me really think about, this reminded me of Apophis in particular, was once brought to the surface, the world serpent is not simply bound by your fishing line. He is connected to your fate. You must decide and quickly whether to cut him loose and return him to slumber, or let him fully awaken fully and destroy your world. And it just made me think of Apophis in a way, but a little bit different. Like Apophis, he again swallows the world into darkness, while the world serpent would basically flood Boston. And I think it's funny how I love how Rick is connecting Magnus is being homeless to like a lot of the characters in the story. And I think it's funny how Rand is a bag lady, and her husband, who is where is it? Fuck. Where is it? Well, her husband, Ajir, who's supposed to be the great stirrer of the sea storms, is more obsessed with flannel shirts and brewing beer. I just think it's fucking hilarious. So Magnus was able to trade his sword, which I thought was cool that it turned into a chain, for the Sword of Summer, and for the apple. He was able to get it. And I love how Sam was able to get it back. Because, like, Harold's like, Harold's like, I should just fucking kill you. And Sam's like, I'll give you double just to get us back. Now shut up. And Harold's like, okay. I thought that shit was funny. Another thing I thought was cool is requesting this, when Magnus said he requested the sword to shrink to a pen. I was like thinking, we got a Percy reference. I knew it. I should have known it was coming. And the sword said no. I was like thinking, I wonder if the sword knows about Riptide being a fen. I'm curious. But instead, it shrank into a rune of Frey on a gold chain, which I thought was cool. So we found out that Big Boy is really Utgard Loki, and I thought it was really interesting to find out that Loki is apparently a popular name among giants, and it's not related to the famous Loki. I thought that was really interesting. Meaning Loki of the Outlands, king of the mountain giants. And I thought it was funny when Magnus said Mr. J and Bag Lady Ram would be an awesome name for a rapper duo. I fucking thought that was funny. What Blitz was saying, and this is in regard to Bone Steel, was he said, forged correctly can cut down supernatural creatures, even giants and gods. Of course, you have to quench the blade in blood, harden it, preferably the blood of whatever type of creature you want the sword to be mostly lethal against. And that reminded me of, Celestial Bronze. And I love this running joke that Riordan does with the fucking ducks. That, like, in Boston, like, the way to get to the World Tree is a fucking bronze duck. And, like, it's like these, not just one of them, there's just like these different bronze ducks, and I was like thinking that seems legit, why the fuck not? And apparently, like, the more frequently you travel between the worlds, the harder it gets, and it's kind of like overheating an engine. At some point you have to stop and let the engine cool down, and besides, jumping randomly from one world to another is one thing, and traveling on a quest, that's different. You can't be sure where exactly you need to go. Man, those Ratatosk, man, I just want to kill them. They're assholes. And they're nasty, too. They, like, their bark are worse than their bite. So what, they do, they're the most destructive creatures in the world tree. What they do is they spend their time running up and down the trunk, carrying insults from the eagle who lives at the top of Needhog and the dragon who lives at the root. And the purpose of the Ratatosk is to damage the tree, and the Ratatosk keeps the eagle and dragon whipped into a frenzy. And I wonder if at some point we're going to fight them in the series. That would be pretty sick. He tells them lies and rumors, nasty gossip about each other. The dragon Needhog is always chewing on the world tree, trying to kill it. The eagle flaps his wings and creates windstorms that tip branches and cause devastation throughout the world. Ratatosk makes sure the two monsters stay angry and in competition with each other to see which one can destroy their end of the Yggdrasil faster. So Ratatosk needs to die. So the first stop on their quest is Folkvanger, which is the field of the army of the people's battlefield. And these fallen are just as powerful as the Hinjar, but they have a different attitude. These people are fucking stupid. They are not just stupid, they're lazy as shit. This realm is one little subsection of Vanaheim, sort of the Vanir gods, flip side version of Valhalla. And then we find out that Freya is Blitz's mama. And a lot of Svartalfs are, we find out they're descended from Freya. And basically, she traded pussy for earrings. She's a prostitute. So, Frey, and we find out why Frey, in this portion, why Frey sat on the throne. So when Frey sat on Odin's throne, he did it for her sake. And it was a dark time for her, and basically she was wandering the night worlds, grieving and bereft, because she was searching for her godly husband, an Aesir named Oder. Yeah, his name was Oder, odd for short. And Frey hoped that sitting in the throne, he might find her. Instead, the throne showed him his heart's desire, a frost giantess named Gerd. And he fell madly in love. And apparently, according to Freya, I'm going to read this from her point of view. Oh, she was beautiful, silver to Frey's gold, cold to his warmth, winter to his summer. You've heard that opposites attract? She was his beautiful match, but she was a giant. She would never agree to marry Vanir. Her family would not allow it. Knowing this, Frey fell into despair. Crops stopped growing, summer lost its warmth. Finally, Frey's servant and best friend came to him asking what's wrong. Skirnir promised he could deliver Gerd within 9 days. He's an asshole. All he required was a small fee for his services, the Sword of Summer. Frey was so love-stricken that he asked no questions. The sword, I can only imagine how it felt. It was betrayed by its master. It allowed Skirnir to wield it, though not happily. That is why the sword will never allow Frey to use it again, and that is why at Ragnarok, Frey is fated to die because he does not have his weapon. And so basically what Freya tells Magnus is he has to talk to the sword to befriend it. And at that time I was like, I wonder how that's going to happen. But yeah, he has to talk to the sword. And we find out that how you travel the world tree to get to your destination so you don't get lost is via need, which I think is cool. And I thought it was cool that Freya cries 100% pure red gold. That is fucking awesome. So the next stop on the quest was Niveller, or Blitz's realm for the most part, which it's basically South Boston, and it looks like South Boston, which is in perpetual darkness, because remember, the dwarves will turn stone if they're in like light. So this is how Freya brings them in. This is so fucked up. A few millennia ago, she came across these 4 dwarves who were crafting the necklace. She was obsessed. She had to have it. The dwarf said she sure for the right price. Freya had to marry each one of them, one after the other, for 1 day. She had 4 dwarvish children, 1 for each marriage. Like, God, like, how did that, like, I'm not... Like, that has to suck so bad. The main difference between dark elves and regular dwarves are the Svartalfs are taller and generally more handsome because they have Vanir blood and they're descended from Freya. And then they go to the pub and they hear Taylor Swift, and I'm just like, and I'm like, wait a minute. She's descended from Freya? She's a dwarf? Wait, what? She's a dark elf? What? I was like, huh? What are you telling me, Rick Riordan? What are you saying? So, what dwarves do, and this is how they do their calendar, I thought this was interesting, is they count years from the creation of their species, and AM is after Magnus. That was great. The creation of the world. And the gods killed the largest of the giants, Ymir, and I was thinking, wait a minute. I thought Ymir was a small titan, and thought was a woman. But whatever, I'm going to just roll with this. And used his flesh to create Midgard. Nidavellir developed under Midgard, where maggots ate into the giant's flesh and created tunnels. Some of those maggots evolved with a little help from the gods and the dwarves. And dwarves, compared to like us, for example, are matriarchal. So they trace their lineage through their mothers. After all, one can only be born from a single biological mother, unless you are the god of Heimdall. Unless you were Heimdall, and he had 9 biological mothers. Wait, what? What? I was like, huh? How does that happen? So, and also we learned that Moskva is the dwarf of Dawn. And I thought it was cool that Sam made her swan cloak out of her hijab. I thought that was real, or into a hijab, excuse me. And so now we get into the Dwarven Contest. And I was just getting, like, I was getting frustrated at the Dwarven Contest. So basically what they have to do is they have to make 3 different things, and they get judged on its usefulness, and it could be anything. And the judge rate each item according to its usefulness, beauty, quality, or whatever. And they can assign the points any way they wish. And the contestant with the most overall points wins, and the other guy dies. And I was like thinking to myself, dude, fucking A, Blitz, just do fashion. Like, I was just wanting to punch him in the face or shake him. He drove me goddamn nuts. And then, and I like that you could sabotage your competitor. And Sam did that because she could shapeshift, and she shapeshifted into a fly and kept bugging the fuck out of Junior. I just thought that was funny as hell. And we learned something that I thought was interesting about Junior's dad was his dad Atiri made Thor's hammer and Gleipnir. And the thing was, though, that about Gleipnir, though, is that the rope was a rush job because the gods were clamoring for help. And they'd already tried to bind Fenris with 2 massive chains, and they knew their window of opportunity was closing. And the wolf was getting stronger and wilder by the day, and pretty soon it'd be uncontrollable. So Atiri, well, he did his best, and obviously the rope was held together this long, but 1,000 years is a long time. Yeah, it's been held together for 1,000 years. So even for a dwarven rope, especially when the strongest wolf in the universe is straining against it day and night, Blitz's dad Billy was a great rope maker. He spent years trying to convince Junior the Gleipnir needed to be replaced, and Junior wouldn't hear of it. And Junior said he went to the Wolf's Island from time to time to inspect the rope, and he swore that Gleipnir was fine, which was a fucking lie. He lied about that shit. Like, after the contest, Junior admitted he lied about that, and I was just like, you asshole. And what Junior did, he thought Blitz's dad wasn't just insulting his family's reputation, and what Junior did was he used all his influence to turn people against Blitz's father, and Blitz's family lost business, and nobody would buy his crafts. And finally, his dad went to Lingivy himself, and he wanted to check the rope, but to prove that it needed replacing, and he never came back. And months later, a dwarven patrol found clothes ripped, washed up on the shore. I just thought this part was funny. Was this. A little later, a random dwarf charged me from the sidelines, swinging an axe, screaming blood. I hit him in the head with the hilt of my sword. He collapsed. More polite applause. A couple bystanders hauled the dwarf away. I read that and I was just fucking dying. So, I mentioned the sabotage that Sam did as the fly. I gotta mention what Blitz made. The first thing that Blitz made was that fucking duck, and I was just like thinking, what is this with this fucking goddamn ducks? And even the book made fun of it, and I thought that was funny. And then I was like, but the second challenge, Magnus benches the clothes. I was like, thank you, Magnus, thank you. And what what Blitz makes is he makes a bulletproof tie, which I thought was pretty cool. And then he makes a chainmail And what Blitz wants is, for winning, he doesn't give a fuck about Junior's head. So he wants earrings, the robe, which is, you know, thin and light, but it's paradox ingredients, which are basically, they aren't supposed to exist and very difficult to craft with and very dangerous. And the Gleipnir contained the football of the football of a cat, the spittle of a birth, the breath of a fish, and the beard of a woman. I was like thinking, wait, what? The beard of a woman? What? And also a public admission that Blitz's father was right about Gleipnir all along, and that should have been replaced. So about the end, Scotty, which is the adversary, basically this is about a little bit more about the rope. It is woven with the most powerful paradoxes in the 9 worlds. Wi-Fi with no lag. Oh God, that means. So you're telling me that's Verizon? A politician's sincerity. I love that he put a politician's sincerity. That shit is funny. A printer that prints. Wait, how is that a paradox? Healthy deep fried food. Wait. Okay. And an interesting grammar lection. And then we get to the sword actually talking. And I was like thinking, suck it, Riptide, because the sword can talk. And, oh my God, I gotta fucking talk about the fucking Granny Shuffler. That shit was so funny when, oh my God. When Junior said Granny Shuffler activated and it had those rocket boosters on it and it was going like 1 mile per hour, I was just dying. I was like, I just can't take this seriously. I was just like, what? And then the sword is and then the sword, she's like, what happened was, Vulcan and Magnus threw the sword and it like just cut the beards in half, like all these dwarves' beards in half, and he wanted to be named Jack, and I was like thinking, yes! The first thing I thought of was Samurai Jack. That was the first thing I thought of. And it speaks Spanish too, so I thought that was cool. And the reason why I thought of Samurai Jack was this. It's a noble name, fit for kings and carving sharp implements. And I was like, yes! Yes! The Samurai Jack! And, okay. This, I'm giving you fair warning if you do not want to puke. This part was nasty. This part was nasty. And this is the shit with Loki. So back in the old days, your ancestors knew that nail clippings carried part of your spirit, your essence, your DNA, you'd call it now. Throughout their lives, mortals were careful to burn any clippings they made. And, oh God, just talking about it is just making me feel sick. God, it's making me feel nauseous. Throughout their lives, mortals were careful to burn any clippings they made. When they died, their nails would be trimmed, the clippings destroyed, so the material would contribute to this great ship. But you can, oh God, it's making me want to throw up. But as you can see, the proper precautions were taken. And what's really disgusting is this ship is building itself. Oh God, it's just nasty. And technically, Naglfar belongs to Surt and the Fire Giants, but when Ragnarok comes, I will guide the ship out of the harbor. Loki, you're just nasty! We'll have an army of giants led by Captain Herm, plus hundreds of thousands of dishonored dead from Helheim. All those who were careless and are unlucky enough to die without a sword in their hand, a proper burial, and a decent post-mortem mani-pedi. Oh God, it just sounds so gross. Oh God. We'll sail to Asgard and destroy the gods. It'll be awesome. I'm just like thinking that sounds nasty as fuck. Okay. I'm going to read this part, and then I'm going to get to the real nasty shit. This, when Ragnarok comes, all bonds will break, not just the ropes binding Fenris. The moorings of the ship snap, the bondings that hold Loki captive snap. Whether or not Magnus keeps the sword out of Surt's hand, it's only a matter of time. Our bomb will snap, and they'll start going unraveling like one huge tapestry. Now this next part on why Loki is bound is one of the most fucked up things I have ever read. I killed Baldur, the god of light, the handsome, perfect, incredibly annoying son of Odin and Frigg. I do it again. Frigg was so worried about him that the poor baby was so worried. The poor baby was having bad dreams about his own doom. Welcome to reality, Baldur. We all have bad dreams. But Frigg couldn't stand the idea that her precious angel might bruise his little foot. She exacted promises from everything in creation. Nothing would hurt her beautiful sun people. Gods, trees, rocks. Can you imagine exacting promise for a rock? Actually, I gotta say this. This paragraph I thought was kind of funny. The next paragraph no, it's Loki's punishment that was fucked up. I'm sorry, but this part is kind of funny. I'm sorry. Where is it? Frigg managed it. Afterwards, the gods had a party to celebrate. They started throwing things at Baldur just for laughs. Arrows, swords, boulders, each other. Nothing would hurt him. Like, can you just imagine them like throwing each other at him, and it just doesn't hurt? Like, Jesus, I would have fun like throwing other gods at. Like, I bet Loki was having fun like throwing Thor at him. That shit would be fun. I'm sorry, it just would. That just sounds like fun, especially since Baldur can't, like, get killed by it. Let's see. It was as if the idiot was surrounded by a force field. Well, I'm sorry, the thought of Mr. Perfect also being invulnerable, Mr. Invulnerable, was making me sick. And how Loki got this motherfucker killed just was, like the biggest what the fuck moment. It was fucking mistletoe. It was mistletoe. Out of all the things that it could be, it was mistletoe. And Loki gave it to and he gave it to his blind brother. That makes this even more fucked up. A god named Hod. Of course, Loki didn't want to miss chucking deadly objects at Baldur. And I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking this. Like, I put this in parentheses in my notes because I was thinking this. That sounds like fun, especially since he couldn't die. I would do this. I would throw things at things since he couldn't die. Loki guided Hod's hand, and well, Baldur died and apparently deserved it for being too handsome, popular, and loved. And Loki's punishment. This is one of the most fucked up things I have ever read. And I have read a lot of fucked up things. I've read in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Berserk and Made in Abyss and like I've read Tokyo Ghoul. Like what I mean by that is I have like Made in Abyss, for example, I've seen a motherfucker take apart his adopted daughter's. Oh God, the thought of this is making me sick. Her daughter's bones and her organs and put it in a fucking container. When I say fucked up, I mean fucked up. This might be the most fucked up paragraph I've read in a book. Get ready for this. And Marvel Universe, you didn't do this shit at all. Get ready for this. This is Loki's punishment. The gods took the wrath upon Loki's two favorite sons, Vali and Narvi. They turned Vali into a wolf and watched with amusement while he disemboweled his brother Narvi. Then they shot and gutted the wolf, and the gods bound Loki with his son's entrails. I read this and I just threw up. When I read this, I threw up in my mouth. I was just like, wow. You did not see this in the Marvel Universe. I did not see this in any of the Norse mythology-based fiction. And the thing is, this is a young adult series. Like, I was just so surprised. And I'm just thinking, man, Rick, you are pushing the boundaries here. I was just like, wow. Wow. Anyway, let's get to this next part here before I even think about throwing up anymore. Oh. So, after Loki goes into this nasty, Loki tells Magnus' story, and Loki tells him that, you know, he's getting mouth to mouth from a goat. I was just like, what the fuck? He's getting mouth to mouth from a goat. And a talking goat to boot. And I was like thinking, what the fuck is with this book? And apparently it tasted like chewed grass and old nickels. And then mine and Magnus's and my thought was, or next thought was, why is this goat eating spare change? And this goat has to be like the biggest smartass. Otis has to be the biggest smartass, and Magnus says, I had to put this in here in my notes because it was fucking funny. And Magnus is like, what's everything? And Otis says, everything. My whole life is one big. And Magnus is like, never mind, just be quiet. And the goat says, and Otis says, sure, I understand. You don't want to know my problems. No one does. I'll be over here weeping or whatever. Just ignore me. I was like, poor Otis. His full name is Tangjoster, which means teeth grinder, which is a bad habit of his, and his nickname is Otis, and he's in therapy and serves Thor. And like, one of the things I thought was great, I didn't know this, and Marvel didn't tell you this either, that Thor's last name is Duh. I was just like, what the fuck? Marvel, why did you not mention this? Thor's last name is Duh. Like, this book is just weird. And apparently, Jack met Otis at a party in Vilskirner where he was playing tug of war with Loki. I really want I want a manga of this book. I really do, or an anime of this book. I really need one because I can just, oh my god, seeing this anime would be so awesome. So, then we get to her story. Oh, her story is so sad. If you thought Loki's story was sad, Loki's story is just fucked up. Her story is sad. So basically, his parents never accepted him because he was deaf. And he had a younger brother, Andrion, who died very young. And it wasn't her fault at all. Her didn't do shit. But his parents took out their bitterness on him. And they always told him the wrong brother had died. And to them, Hearth was a disappointment. A disabled elf, a punishment from the gods. And he could do no right. He just couldn't do anything right. And something that Hearth carries with him is Pethros ruin. And what it symbolizes is an empty cup lying sideways. And it could be spilled drink. It could mean spilled drink, or a cup waiting to be filled, or a cup for throwing dice like fate. I thought that was really interesting, that out of all the runes that, you know, mean the most, that he considers near and dear to him, it's that one. So we find out what, you know, Mimir offered to him, you know, for him to be bound to Mimir. Because remember, you have, if you're going to be bound to Mimir, there's a choice. So he offered him two choices: to grant him speech and hearing and send him back to Alpheum to live a normal life. But the catch is, he would have to give up his dream of magic. If he chose the second path, he'd learn magic, but he would stay the way he is, deaf and hated by his own parents. And he obviously chose the second path, but what we learn about magic is just so depressing. Oh my god. So only people who have known great pain have the capacity to learn magic. So it's not like in Harry Potter where you can be happy and learn magic. It's not like a lot of these other series that, you know, I've covered, where you can be happy and learn magic, or where you have to be happy to learn magic. No, you have to be empty and in this darkness. And this includes Odin. He gave up his eye to learn from Mimir's well. But that was just the beginning. In order to learn runes, Odin fashioned a noose and hanged himself from a branch of the world tree for 9 days. Like, this shit is dark. Odin pierced his side with his own spear and hung there in pain without food or water until the runes revealed themselves. The pain made him hollow receptacle for magic. And then, we find out about this random god. Like, I swear, there's all these random gods in these pantheons. I swear to God. Oler, the god of snowshoes, and he also invented the archery. And then, we get this random chapter title, and I was thinking we were gonna get a more Jason Grace reference, but I was so disappointed. It was Jason Grace. He mentions Jason Grace. He's like, I don't know who the fuck that is. And I think it was just a jab at Jason Grace. And I started cracking up because a good chunk of the Percy Jackson / Heroes of Olympus fans can't stand Jason Grace. So I think that's funny that they did that. And I love how Magnus fights, and this is in regards to the giantesses, not the giant that he fights in this next section. I love that he just throws Jack in all the giantesses' noses, and Jack just destroys their brain. I just think that's funny as fuck. Oh man, okay, and I gotta talk about the goats too. I gotta talk about Marvin as well. Something that the goats remind me of is they remind me of the snakes on Hermes' staff. I don't know if anyone else thought that or not, but they totally do, personality wise. But boy, Marvel, you got Thor wrong character wise, and I love when books make fun of movie adaptations. Because this one definitely made fun of Thor. It was pretty funny. And I love what they said about Thor. He said, boy, did Thor love farting with electricity. And I was just thinking, oh God, just why? And he was saying, they were saying, nothing is polished about him. I was thinking, Marvel, and I posted this on Twitter too. I was like, Marvel, you lied to us. Why, Marvel? Why did you lie? I was just cracking my ass up. And Thor is cool, even though he's nasty as shit, appearance-wise. He's cool in my book because he likes Mike from Breaking Bad, and Mike is one of my favorite characters from Breaking Bad because he's a fast mofo. Then we find out about Magni and Modi, who are tattooed on his arms. And I swear I remember those names sound familiar from the Leslie Livingston series. I just can't remember it off the top of my head, and it's driving me nuts. Anyway, so basically Magni and Modi are Thor's sons, which are fated to survive Ragnarok. And what's cool about the goats, and I forgot to mention this about the goats, is that they you could kill the goats and they resurrect every day, which is pretty cool. But there's a catch here. If you fuck this up, if you broke the goat's bones, they would be resurrected with damage, which would take a long time to heal, and it would be very annoying. And then Thor would either have to kill you or make you his slave forever. And apparently Thor has lost his hammer 3 times, and it hasn't been fun. And apparently there are Norse zombies, and they move silently and you never hear them coming. And here's a little more fun. And this is the part that I was really interested in. And we find this. We find out a little bit more about Sam's family history. That Vikings were traders. They traveled everywhere. They got all the way to America. We know that. It shouldn't be a surprise they got to the Middle East too, which is consistent with series am I thinking? Shikoku no Altar. That's the series. Arabic coins have been found in Norway, and the best Viking swords were modeled after Damascus steel. And back in medieval times, some of the Vikings settled in Russia, and they called themselves the Rus. Again, very similar to Shikoku no Altar. That's where the word Russian comes from. Anyway, the Caliphate, the big king down in Baghdad, he sent an ambassador north to find out more about the Vikings, set up trade routes with them, that kind of stuff. The ambassador's name was Ahmad ibn Fadlan ibn al-Abbas, aka the distant cousins. And it's crazy how history is repeating itself, because Sam mentions like this vision that she has about her sitting with like a medieval version of her as a Valkyrie, sitting with a medieval version of Magnus, and around a campfire, and it's just cool. And I was just like thinking, God, it's just weird how history is repeating itself. Oh, something that was really cool, and I love Hearth's magic, I really love him, is that he summoned Stanley, who was one of Sleipnir, Odin's horse, and Loki, who apparently is the mother of this horse, and I don't think I want to know how it works, how that worked out. Yeah, one of the sons to carry them across the chasm to the giant's castle. And horses, I love this connection here, this parallel, that horses are Frey's sacred animal. You know who else has horses as their sacred animal? Poseidon / Neptune. I see what you did there. Rick. Let's see. Oh, and Frey's temple kept their own herds, and Poseidon did. I'm curious if Poseidon's temple did that. I don't think that was mentioned. No mortal was allowed to ride them without the god's permission. And something that I thought was interesting was guest rights and the host rights, and I loved how they trait the Valkyries. That shit was, or not the Valkyries, the Giantesses. I thought that was funny. And I love how they played, like how they were tricking the what's his name, Gerard, with how the coal catch turned in the coal dodgeball. That shit was funny as fuck. And Sam is a little stinker. What she did afterwards, she pressed Ganila's emergency evacuation feature, which is if a Valkyrie is wounded in battle and needs immediate attention, another Valkyrie can send her back to the halls of healing simply by touching her armband, and she'll be instantly extracted. But it's powerful magic, and it's only one use, and the armband melts. And of course, the hammer's not there. Thor's hammer is not there. His backup weapon is there, which is like a staff, which was a gift from his friend, the Giantess Grid. And something else you got wrong, Marvel, is that Thor and Loki are not blood brothers. You guys were wrong on that. But somehow Loki convinced Thor to wear a bridal gown. I want to know how this happened. Please tell me how this happened. And yeah, Loki is Odin's blood brother, not Odin's son. So fucking stop with the lies, Marvel. And I love that Thor cares more about Game of Thrones than the battle that's about to happen. I just think that's weird. And then we finally get to see Hel. I was so excited to see Hel. Yes, Hel. We didn't get to stay in Hel long, but I was proud of Magnus for not falling for her bullshit. Then we find out that who was behind this entire scheme? It was Odin, and I'm gonna get to how Odin trolled everybody. Odin is a huge goddamn troll, but I will get to that in a minute. I'm not gonna mention. where Fenris is he is on the Isle of Heather, which is which we thought was purple, where Magnus thought was purple with rocky slopes carpeted with ghostly white flowers, but it's not that way. But what Heather is basically a magical plant used to ward off evil, to keep ghosts at bay, and Fenris lies bound in the center of the island like a runestone in a bowl. And I love Jack. Jack just has the right attitude about everything. And I was like thinking the Fenris wolf was going to be a lot bigger, but I was just like, when we got to the Fenris wolf, I was like, what the fuck is this? You are the size of just an actual wolf? This is some bullshit. I was so pissed when we got to the Fenris wolf. That sucked. And then we found out that little bitch, like Fenris said, he's the actual reason that Sam became a Valkyrie. And of course Fenris can talk, because fuck, animals can just talk in this book. And wait, and oh yeah, Hearth, like, oh god, what's his name? Fuck, I just can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. Whatever. I love that, like, out of everyone, that Hearth is the one that could just like destroy, fucking distract, or like break, not distract, that could break like Fenris' control over everyone just because he can't hear her. I was like, yes, go Hearth, that's my boy. And thank God for the hallmates. I love that they came in handy and rebelled against Gunilla. That shit was awesome. And I was so, oh man, when Cert came with and jacked Blitz's sign, or Blitz's tie, a bulletproof tie, I was just like, you bitch, why'd you do that? Oh man. And then fucking Gunilla, that's when Gunilla fucking joins the fight, and I was so sad when she died. I was like partly sad when she died, when her Margaret and Irene died. I was just like, oh, I was like, god damn it. But at the same time, I was like, that's kind of karma at the same time. Anyway, I loved when Sam changed into a lion and attacked Fenris' ass. And the other thing I liked too, that was really cool in that fight, in the final fight of the book, was when it really proved, it was like a really good, interesting test, or a good final test for Magnus's control over Jack. Is like, because Jack was trying to pull him to cut, Fenris free, and he's like, no, we are not cutting him free. So that was really cool. But I like what Sam said here, which was, I accept who I am, but not the way you mean. I'm Samira al-Abbas, Samira of the Line. I was like, yeah, get him. And I liked how Fenris was re-tied up, and how he figured out how to do it. Which was something connected to what was talked about earlier with the paradox and with, opposites. So what he did was he used the power of summer and the power of light to fight the darkness. And I thought that was so smart. I was like, I like that. The using summer to defeat the darkness. Silly. And what he used, he used the Steve Door's not. And then he used the Piece of Frey, which the Piece of Frey was so cool. So what he said was, the battle is over, to activate it was, the battle is over, I consecrate this ground in the name of Frey. And the words sent a shockwave in every direction. Swords, daggers, and axes flew from the fire giant's hands. TJ's rifle spun from his grasp. Even the weapons lying on the ground were expelled from the island, blasted from the darkness like shrapnel. The only one left holding a weapon was me. And how he got rid of Surt was fucking bomb. He used Jack to open a goddamn portal, and I was like, yeah, that was bomb. And oh my god, when Magnus met Frey, I gotta compare it to when Percy met Poseidon. There was a huge difference, because like when Magnus met Frey, there was Frey was like, I can understand if you don't want to hug me, and Magnus hugged him, and I was crying. I was like, oh, Magnus. And what Magnus said, how it was described, like how he said he felt he knew him. It was just so sweet. Every time we were in the woods on a summer day, every time the sun came out sun came out from behind the clouds, Frey had been there. And I was like thinking, wouldn't the same be true if Percy was at the beach? Like, wouldn't that be similar? Like, I just loved it. I loved how close he felt with his dad. It just was so cute. And I love when Jack was talking to Frey, and I love what he said. He said, blades before pain. And then Frey said, I love what Frey said here. When he said, knowing fate is one thing, accepting is another. I will do my duty. With this antler, I will slay many giants, even Belly, one of their great generals. But you're right, it won't be enough to bring down Surt. In the end, I will die. Even gods can't last forever. I don't expend my energy trying to fight the change of seasons. I focus on making sure the days I have and the season I oversee are as joyful and rich and plentiful as possible. I hope we get to see more Frey and Magnus moments. That's what I really want in the series, is more Frey and Magnus moments, because they are just, I love this father-son moment stuff. And also Frey hits, there's like so many hints at crossover happening. There just totally is. But then we get like the biggest troll moment in Rick Riordan series history, when X reveals that he is Odin. I was just like, I read this part earlier this morning. I told you, I pulled an all-nighter to finish this book. And I was just like, oh my god, Odin just trolled everybody. Odin is the biggest fucking troll. And I gotta read what he said. I'm a seeker of knowledge. This has always been true. I hung from the world tree for 9 days and nights, racked with pain in order to discover the secret of ruins. I stood in line for a blizzard for 6 days to discover the sorcery of smartphone. I thought that was so funny. I was like, you stood in a blizzard for a smartphone. I was just like, wow. I endured 7 weeks of motivational speaker training at a hotel in Peoria to discover this. And then he just shows a fucking PowerPoint, and which is Odin's plan on how to have a highly successful afterlife. And we find out why Odin hit his ex. I was just like, oh my god. But I'm going to read this, and you guys are going to be like, wow. To see how you would welcome such a warrior and how you would carry out your duties. When you didn't think I was around, you all needed to work on your positive empowerment and self-actualization. I was like, oh, Odin! And why Odin chose Sam. If the daughter of Loki can show bravery, why can't we all? Samara demonstrates the 7 heroic qualities I'll be highlighting in my upcoming book, 7 Heroic Qualities, which will be available in the Valhalla gift shop. Now this is like when I read this, I was like, oh my god, this is gotta be one of the biggest troll moments in all of literature that I've read, of all books I've read, is why the Norns prophecy didn't mean what we thought it did. wrongly chosen, wrongly slain. Magnus was wrongly chosen by Loki, who thought this boy could be influenced. Instead, Magnus Chase proved himself as a true hero. He trolled the shit out of Loki. I think Odin knew. Odin fucking knew. Affirmations. Here's the affirmations portion of the presentation. Blitzen, son of Freya, this noble dwarf of won the rope and Scotty. And this part totally just makes me think of Harry Potter, like near the end of the year. Which rebound Fenrir's wolf, he followed his heart, mastered his fears, and saved my old friend Mimir faithfully. For your heroism, Blitzen, you shall be released from Mimir's service. And give him funding to open the shop you boys want. Yay! Because I have to say, and he was wearing the chainmail waistcoat. I picked up your prototype after the contest, and it's a very fine fashion statement. Any warrior should be wise to acquire one. And then in regards to Hearth, I was like, this is so Harry Potter. This noble creature risked everything to rediscover rune magic. He's the first true sorcerer to appear from the mortal realm in centuries. Without him, the quest to restrain the wolf would have failed many times over. Odin beamed down at the elf. My friend, you shall also be released from Mimir's service, and I will personally bring you to Asgard, where I will teach you the ruins in a 90-minute one-on-one free tutoring session. Yeah. And, fuck. Accompanied by a DVD and signed copy of my book, Rune Magic, with, the All-Father. Let's see. And basically, like, for Sam, she got, like, the option. I gotta read what he said about Sam. I personally chose you to be a Valkyrie because of your courage, your resilience, your potential greatness. Many here mistrusted you, but you rose to the challenge. You followed my orders. You did even your duty, even when you were reviled and exiled. To you, I give you a choice. I offer you a choice of jobs. So suck it, Cadella! I need a captain for my Valkyries. I can think of no one better than you. Suck it, bitch! This would allow you more time to spend in the mortal world, perhaps a chance to rest after your harrowing quest, or you could choose a much more dangerous assignment, working directly for me as the need arises on others, shall we say, high-risk, high-reward missions. And then Magnus, for Magnus was, but if you still feel that Valhalla is not your place, I will send you to Volk-Wagner, where your aunt holds court. As a child of the Vanir, perhaps that must be more to your liking. Or, if you wish, I will even allow you to return to the mortal world and be released to your duties as a Inhirji. And I was so happy that Magnus chose to stay, because to me, it makes more sense. And the cool thing is that him and Blitz and Sam and Hearth have permission to go to the other worlds as much as they want, and I was so happy with that. Let's see. And oh my god, I got, there's a few more things. Thank you guys for, being patient. This video is almost done. And I was so happy that Halfward and Mel got together. I shipped that shit. Ship it like FedEx. And then, I feel like we got teased. We got so teased at the end, because it ended with this before the prologue, or the epilogue, excuse me. You've got a bet, this is Annabeth. She said, let's hear what you've been up to. Oh no, I said, your story is so amazing. You go first. I was like, Rick, you fucker, you tease. And then the epilogue, Randolph is meeting with Loki. And this is how the epilogue ended. I was just like, Loki, you little shit. Loki strolled to Randolph's display cases. He ran his fingers along Randolph's collection of trinkets and talismans. Ragnarok has many triggers, my friend. The Sword of Summer is not the only weapon in play. And he plucked a necklace from the display. His eyes gleamed as a small silver hammer pendant swung between his fingers. Oh yes, Randolph, Loki grinned. You and I are going to be having lots of fun. I can't wait to read the second book in the series, which is called The Hammer of Thor. I can't wait to read it. Like, this series is so good, and I hope you stop teasing me. But this book was really good. I love how Odin was just trolling. I wish Gunilla would have been alive to see Odin just trolling. I really do, because Gunilla deserved that karma. But I'm really curious what you guys thought of this book. I think the most disturbing part of this book was Loki's punishment. Loki's punishment was just so fucked up. It's one of the most fucked up things I've ever read. Anyway, I'm sorry the video is so long, but there was just a lot to talk about. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Nerdigans Inc. If you love what I'm doing and want to contribute to the Nerdigans Inc. expansion, there's a few ways you could do that. You could donate to the Nerdigans Inc. PayPal, Patreon, or purchase something off the Nerdigans Inc. Amazon wishlist. All those links are in the description box below. Also, make sure you follow me on the Twits, aka Twitter. Follow my Twitch channel, follow me on PlayStation Network. All that's in the description box below as well. Till next time, Nerdigans, I'll be seeing you later.